People are talking live from San Francisco. Today, Living with the Kennedys, the story of Joan Kennedy, plus our fireman chef, Jim Neal.
Would you welcome the author of Living with the Kennedys, MARCIA CHELLIS.
I was going to say, you very seldom walk up and kiss the guest unless it's a man, and I will point out here that you and Marcia went to high school together, and you went to Northwestern.
Yes. Isn't it something? I mean, life really gets smaller as you get older, and it's really a treat for me this morning to sit here with my high school chum and applaud her for now being on the bestseller list, the New York Times bestseller list with this book. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
Let's talk about your book about Joan Kennedy. And before we talk about her years with the Kennedys, let's talk about Joan Bennett. What kind of background does she come from?
Well, she was raised in Bronxville, which is an affluent suburb. Her parents were, her mother was Catholic, her father was Protestant. She was raised Catholic, went to Catholic schools, and it was a very sheltered, protected environment. She had one younger sister, and she was a typical product of the 50s. Ann and I know about that. You probably don't, Russ. And she was expected to do well, to perform, to get good grades, to do everything right, behave like a lady, not to make a fuss about anything, to accept what came her way. And then went to college, a Catholic girls' school, and was a debutante, and just
groomed herself for marrying the right
man. That's
Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What were her parents like, Marcia? I mean, I know that her mother had...
Her mother had alcoholism, and it was at a time, of course, when people didn't know much about it and it wasn't accepted, so there really wasn't anywhere for her to turn. And as Joan said, that she died of the effects of that disease. Her father was tall, handsome, and she just adored him, and he her, and he had a lot of influence on her. He was an advertising executive and was fairly successful.
So she had a pretty good home life.
Yes.
How about in school? Take high school.
But she described herself as a loner. She said that her younger sister, Candy, was much more popular. Candy would bring friends home from school, and Joan would come home after school and study or play the piano by herself.
So she really was a solitary person from the beginning. Yeah. What an awful thing to then be thrust in this gregarious family.
Yeah.
How did she meet Teddy?
Well, it was at Manhattanville. Most of the Kennedy wives came from Manhattanville.
Which is a town?
It's a girls' school, Catholic girls' school in Purchase, New York. And
a grooming ground.
That's right.
For wealthy men.
Well, actually, I didn't realize it was Manhattanville. I remember Purchase, New York, and you said she went to Purchase, and the idea was just to be good and look for a husband.
That was the idea for most of the women who were there, and most of the Kennedy women had come from Manhattanville. So that one day there was a dedication. Joe Kennedy, Ted's father, had given a gymnasium to the school, and so the entire clan had gathered for the dedication. And as they do, they have a solid united front. And Jean Smith, who's Ted's sister, married to Steve Smith, had chosen Joan to introduce to her younger brother.
I mean, she'd looked out over the field of applicants and said, that's the one.
This lovely woman. Mm-hmm.
How soon after they met did they get married?
It was about a year. They met and talked a lot on the telephone. Ted went back to the University of Virginia where he was studying law and talked a few times on the telephone. Then he asked her for lunch on Thanksgiving weekend in New York. Then they went skiing and just had weekends together. And that spring, 58, she became engaged to Ted.
Doesn't she have some beliefs on why Ted Kennedy married her?
Well, she tells a wonderful story. You know, in the 50s, virginity was very much prized and very important to women. And it was a little bit of a double standard, perhaps not so to men. And she says, the only reason Ted married me was because he couldn't get me any other way.
Aha.
Yeah.
She was no dummy.
We don't want to talk about your...
No, I know. Not that anymore. That's right. It has
kind of a high note because you two did go to high school together.
This is going to be
and you
awful,
went
I
to
know it.
Northwestern, and we thought it only appropriate to show your high school senior pictures.
Oh! You know what?
Here's
That's terrible.
Here's
Who is that person? Look at that. Isn't that cute?
This-
Get off of that.
If you can't tell, this is Ann Fraser in her senior year of high school at New
Is
Trick.
that just terrible with the DA? Oh.
And this is Marcia Cellis.
I can't. Marcia, you haven't changed a bit. That's all right.
Now, that was in 19... Oh, well, I won't give it that. That was in high school.
57.
Look at this, Marcia. Look at this.
Now, this is at WAMU, which was a student talent show at Northwestern.
get you?
And this is you, Ann.
No, it is not. It is Marcia. Look at those legs. Are you kidding me? That's Marcia.
And you're performing, and then this is... well, there's
please,
there's
is that
Fraser
sweet?
there.
That was the sweetest I've ever been in my whole life, right in that picture.
Oh, there you are. What is that contraption you're wearing?
Well, that was a song called There Ain't No Man on the Moon. It was the Moon Lady outfit. I don't know.
You should go to Purchase, New York. It might have worked.
And there is Marcia.
Oh, my God.
You showed your legs a lot in school,
so,
Marcia.
right?
You did. Oh.
Well, this is Marcia's book. It's called Living with the Kennedys. We appreciate you being with us this morning. Hope you had a good time.